What's good? What's good? It's your boy Jay Shaw from the Behind the Bench Sports Network. Back at it again. Shout out to the bench crew. Check our past videos out. Subscribe, like, and if this is the type of content you want to listen to, or if there's anything that you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments. Somebody will pick it up. One of us. If it's Kelvin, Jermaine, Lawrence, Trav, JB, we'll pick it up. So this video don't have nothing to do with the Lakers, or, well, it got something to do with the Lakers. It got something to do with LeBron. But I want to talk about something that I'm noticing with sports fans, and the sports fans on social media. See, I'm 45 years old. I came from an era where in certain sports, winning was the main factor. Like, the stats did not tell you that a player was great. It was mainly winning, right? But for some reason, it feels like a lot of sports fans out there done got dumbed down or forgot, or was never taught. I'm a generation that grew up collecting baseball cards, basketball cards, football cards. And anybody that understands, they know on the back of those cards, you had to learn what the abbreviations was when it came to the stats. So you had to learn what an RBI was. You had to learn a home run. You had to learn what an assist was. You had to learn what, the STL stood for steals. And then on the back of those cards, it'll show those players' stats for every season that player was in there, and it'll give you, sometimes they'll give you a little breakdown about the player or something that went on with the player. So, we had the baseball cards and trading cards. Then we played video games, and most of our video games back then was a lot of sports games. It wasn't one particular sports game that dominated. You played, if it was a football game, it didn't matter who it was. The teams didn't have to be real. You knew LA, you knew San Francisco. You already knew, oh, okay, that must be the 49ers, or the New York, that must be the Giants. They had the Giant colors. May not have the real players' names, but it was all good. Football was football. Basketball was basketball. Baseball was baseball. We all played Nintendo, played RBI baseball. It didn't have the real teams. It just had LA and San Francisco and New York and Chicago. It had the main cities, right? So we played those sports games, and then later on they started getting the players like licensing that they was able to put the real teams and the real players' names, and then on top of that, it also had stats for those players. Then we grew up reading the newspaper, and you would read the sports section. So since you already knew how to read the stats on a baseball card or a basketball card or a football card, you was able to read the sports section and look at the box scores and read the articles and play people talking about players and everything else. And then it even got to the point, once you was in high school, you probably had a Sports Illustrated or ESPN magazine or something to that liking, right? On top of that, we watched sports. We watched the college game, we watched the NFL game, so we've seen college players in football and basketball, and we followed them from their freshman year all the way to their junior and senior year, and we had an idea, and it brought in, it made us feel like, okay, I want to see how this player transcends and goes into the next level into these pro sports, right? Then we played sports all day, every day. If it was a park, we was at it. We was playing basketball. We was playing football. We was playing baseball. Somebody had some gloves, a ball, and a bat. We gonna play baseball. If we didn't have enough for a team, we was gonna play pickle, or we was gonna play over the line. Wherever you lived at, it was all types of different games. If we had a football and they have enough for a team, you know, because then nobody want to play 2-on-2 football, right? Or maybe you might play 3 or 4. Then you could get a good game of some football with 3 or 4. You know, if it was in your street, if it was tackle. But we used to have games called, I can't, you know, it's offensive to some people, but I really don't care because that's not my religion. But smear the queer. You know, toss up football, where it was just nothing but tackling. They made boys into man. You get hit, you get hurt, and you shake it off and you walk it off. It wasn't no crying, wasn't no fighting. It was all about competition, and we competed. So our way of looking at sports is a lot different. I know a lot of y'all kind of like, where is he going with this? I'm just venting. But where I'm going with it is, it's 2 types of fans in this world. 2 types of fans. You got the savants, and then you got casuals. And what separates us? Because somebody could be around 45 and they can still be a casual fan because they don't put the work in. See, a savant, we put work in. We put the work in to know. Don't nobody talk sports to be wrong. Don't nobody talk sports to be wrong. We talk sports to be right. Now, what separates us? It's a couple factors. See, savants, we don't look at the stats for what they are, you know, at the top, right? We go deeper into the stat. What made this player have this type of stat? We break it down like fractions when it comes to stats. We don't say, oh, this player, he's averaging 25, he's good. Nah. Why is he averaging 25? Who's he playing with? What team is he on? Is it system, or is it just his natural ability? Was he always playing like this? Did he play like this in college? Or did it transpire into the pros? You see what I'm saying? And then on top of that, we grew up watching people win. Football, you had to win Super Bowls. You know, the more Super Bowls you was winning, or at the end of your career, if you was sitting at the top of all these stats, like Randy Moss, and you witness big moments, big plays. See, it's a difference. Like, when you look at Chris Carter, great football player, caught a lot of passes. But when you compare him to some of the greats, what separates it is the big moment catches, the big games, the Randy Moss going into Dallas and catching 3 balls and having 2 touchdowns and scoring, having 175 yards, receiving yards. That was all on him. That wasn't, the quarterback didn't make him. See, a lot of people don't understand this. Some quarterbacks can make players great. Some receivers and running backs can make the quarterback look great. It's kind of hard to explain. You just have to have that knowledge and know what you're watching. And a lot of casual fans don't know what they're watching. And especially today, they're not being taught like we was. We grew up watching sports reporters in the sports machine, and ESPN was really news. Now it's more like TMZ. They don't teach you anything on. They ain't breaking down nothing. It's too much rah-rah. I like this player. I don't like this player. So since I don't like this player, I'm gonna talk negative about him. And if I like this player, it don't matter if this player is wrong in his ways, but I'm not gonna say anything negative. Back then, we had real journalists. They didn't care. Even if they was your friend behind closed doors, they still reported the news, because that's what the news was. We're gonna report the news if you like it or not. But big money came in, and the news switched up because ESPN switched up because the commissioners of these leagues started having a little bit more power because it was big money and you need us more than we need you now. When it used to be the sports, the NBA needed CBS, they needed NBC, they needed ABC, but now it's these networks that need sports now to carry them. See, everything done got flipped. So the power done got switched. And now that's why you can see Adam Silver and rig these games and stuff like that. You can see why these players can control the media, because the money. See, the thing about a casual and a savant, what makes us different? Well, savants remember the moments, they remember the stats, they can evaluate talent, they remember the history, and they're not fooled by what somebody else says. They could go do their own research, come up with their own opinion. See, for example, the Lakers, the young core versus LeBron James. Most savant fans that was Laker fans seen that the young core would have been more beneficial to the Lakers than what LeBron done been. Yeah, LeBron got him a little bubble championship. Yeah, but real Laker fans feel like that young core together would have won multiple championships or been in contention to win multiple championships. You see what I'm saying? See, a casual couldn't see the talent that the Lakers had in front of them, where a savant could see the talent. Could say, oh, okay, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, Ivica Zubac, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Caruso, Thomas Bryant, who else? Man, so many dang players, I can't even remember them all. You put all that talent on one court, they're better than a lot of teams starting five, right? But somebody will say, well, they don't have to, okay, let's say you match them up with some of the better teams back then, they're going to have two stars that might be better than them, the top two. But it ain't going to be that far apart, right? Because you could say, well, if you have LeBron and D-Wade and Chris Bosh, this, even though, no, we can't use them. Let's use Golden State at the time. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant. Well, yeah, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry is probably better than any of those starting five on the Lakers, right? But after that, 3 all the way to 15, the Lakers had a better team. So logically, Golden State would not have been able to beat the Lakers. Because even when they was able to beat the Lakers, they barely got by those Laker teams, and that was because they was young. Now, if you fast forward to now, that Laker team is a juggernaut. Why? Because it was a cartoon back in the day that a lot of y'all remember, Voltron. You know, when they was lions and they was in space, and they was good by themselves, right? They all had their little special powers, unique powers or whatever. But when they formed together and became Voltron, man, they killing off everything. That's how the Lakers was. See, individually, they're good. Brandon Ingram's good in New Orleans. Randall's good in New York. D'Angelo was good in Brooklyn when he was running the team and he was the when he was the star of the team. He was good, right? But if you had all those players on the same team together, oh, they would have beat anybody. Well, how do I know that? Because that team was a top 10 defensive team with players between 19 and 24. It was a top 10 defensive team. You don't go backwards when you're young playing defense. You don't go from being a top 10 defensive team and then 5 years later, y'all go from top 10 and now y'all in the back of the NBA when it comes to defense. No, you only get better. And that was the case with that young core. When you put them all together, they would have been better than a lot of teams from top to bottom, even on the bench. The thing about that team, didn't nobody have ego. Didn't nobody say I was the leader of the team. If somebody had it going that night, then that's who they're going to focus the offense on. That team was able to play a lot of different styles. They could have played small ball. They could have played big. They could have played a fast lineup. They could have played a three-point lineup. They could have played a whole lot of different ways of scoring. A lot of different defensive team. Like, they had it all. And it was something that we ain't never seen before in the NBA. How do I know this? Because I've been watching the NBA for a long time, and I never seen a team be built the way that team was. See, the thing about a savant versus a casual, like I said, we remember a lot more. We remember the big moments. We remember, we know who competes. We know who's winners. You know, we know how players is getting their points. Are they stat padding? Are they front running? Or is it coming natural? See, a casual fan, they can't see that. Casual fan can't see talent for what it is. They can't put it together. And a lot of them is because they get brainwashed by sports media now. And they know what they're doing. Sports media know what they're doing. They get brainwashed by sports media. And that's one of the reasons a lot of savants don't watch the mainstream sports media. They don't watch ESPN. They don't watch Fox. They don't listen to Okosheshe and FS1. They don't, whatever we see is a clip that we seen on our phone, but we don't follow that. Even the NFL people, even the NFL savants. And that's another thing. We don't try to be right in everything. We be right. We only know what we know on what we really follow. And don't get me wrong, I can follow football, I follow basketball, I follow baseball, but I know basketball more than I know football, and I'm good with it. And if I humble myself, it ain't trying to be right, but we don't talk to be wrong. But if somebody's explaining something to me, and I could go back and do my research, I could say to myself, you know what, he was right, I was wrong. I'm going to give this person their credits. And now whatever they done taught me, I'm going to use it going forward if somebody else wanted to bring up this same topic. See, the problem with LeBron fans, you can show them all the proof in the book, they still gonna believe it. Why? Because they're listening to the wrong people, and those wrong people keep saying, repeating, and regurgitating everything that they hear somebody else say that's a LeBron fan. So now they start to believe the bull. Like, the other guy made some sense, but this dude is saying the same thing I'm saying, so I believe what he's saying. That's all LeBron fans do. That's why they're casuals. See, a real fan could be told, you know, when you look at the numbers, yeah, this person might have more numbers than this other person, but their impact ain't as impactful than the person with lesser numbers. They don't have those moments. Like, I use this one, like, if you watch baseball, if you know who this player is, Rafael Palmeiro. Great baseball player. But I can't give you no great Rafael Palmeiro numbers. I can't give you no big moments, no big hits. You see what I'm saying? But somebody else that might have, and Rafael Palmeiro got great Hall of Fame numbers. Some better than some players in the Hall of Fame. But if I had to compare him to Kirby Puckett got more memorable moments in big games. That's what makes him stand out. See, what makes a player stand out is not what they do in the regular season, it's what they do when the lights is at its brightest, when the game slows down, when there's a lot more pressure, when it's something that you plan on, when it's something that your team needs you to be that player that they're paying to perform in the big moments. It's all about winning. It was never about stats. Basketball was never about stats. It was about winning. Football was never about stats. It was about winning. What are you doing in the postseason? You didn't have to go to the Super Bowl, but you had to win. And they knew, based off who you was and where your team was, you couldn't go into the postseason going 13-3, getting the first round bye, and then getting beat in your divisional playoff match. Nah, you had to get to the conference finals or the Super Bowl. So if you had a big record in the regular season and you fell short, then that's when you start getting that criticism. Not saying that person had to win the Super Bowl, because a Super Bowl is hard to win. Everybody don't win Super Bowls. So when you see somebody do it multiple different times, now they're being put in that legendary status. And I know this video is kind of long. Shout out to those that's still listening. Only those that still listen and really love sports and understand where I'm coming from. You know, baseball is the only sport that's based off of stats. Why? Because those same bases done been the same amount distance since the 1900s. Players was throwing 90 miles per hour since the 1900s. It wasn't like they was throwing 75 miles per hour. And then once we got into the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, now they throwing in the 90s. Nah, they was throwing in the 90s and the hundreds since the 1900s. Ain't nothing changed. So yeah, when they've been using the same type of ball, same type of bat. Now the bats might be made a little bit better. Maybe they're using a different type of wood. But other than that, that's why baseball players is remembered by stats, not really by World Series. You see what I'm saying? Trout on the Angels, he was like the best player for like 6 years. A lot of people don't remember. He don't have a lot of big playoff moments because his team couldn't get in the playoffs. But his stats is what backed him up. See, because he can't help if a team don't got good pitching. He can't help that. He can't help that. So all he could do is do what he's supposed to do once he's in that batter's box. And that's to be productive. And that's how they're remembered. Now, if he got in the playoffs and he stunk it up, then yeah, now you're gonna get criticized a little bit more. Because you're not really a playoff. You're still a great player, and you'll go down as one of the greats, but what's gonna separate you from a legend is the ones that have big regular seasons in baseball, and then they have big postseasons in baseball. And you're gonna always be remembered, like Big Papi, Manny Ramirez. They had big regular seasons, but when they got in that postseason, they was big in the postseason. Pedro Martinez, big in the postseason. When he had his outing and he had to pitch a game in the postseason, he was going to bring it. Randy Johnson, they was going to bring it. Kurt Schilling, they was going to bring it. Same thing It's always been about what you're doing in the big moments. Football, basketball, baseball. It was never about stats. The media done made it about stats. And y'all fans done made it about stats that's casuals because y'all want to uplift a certain player because y'all think it's funny and y'all trolling, or you feel like he's greater and this is what it takes to be great. But nah, you can't pull the wool over people that grew up with trading cards, playing, reading. You can't pull that wool over us. You can pull it over other casual fans that just started watching sports, but you can't pull it over us. We played. We played. We woke up, did our chores, went outside, played at the park, played at the gym from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening, because that's what we love to do. We were sports fanatics. That was our thing. You gotta be able to educate yourself. Stop following what everybody say. Take accountability when you're wrong. Use somebody else's information when they school you on something. Don't take it personal. Don't get upset. Don't hate. See, a lot of Laker fans, they bought into that LeBron James. But a lot of us Laker fans is like, nah, you don't want to follow down that road. Because and that's another thing about fans. We recognize the patterns. We watch and we pay attention to patterns. So we know when a player or a team is good based off their pattern, based off their history. So when we look at LeBron, we know that he's not that player because his pattern and his history shows. He hasn't shown anything. Same thing with Kevin Durant. They haven't shown that they could win by themselves, by only having another 20-point game scorer on their team, playing against competition with no criticism, there's nothing. When you think about Michael Jordan, it was clean wins. It wasn't no controversy. Joe Montana, no controversy, clean wins. Brady got some controversy wins. LeBron got controversy wins. And I'm not saying Brady ain't great. And I'm not saying LeBron ain't a good player. I don't think he's great. He's good. Because all the help he done had and all the other stuff behind the scenes. But that's here and there. I'm not here to bash that dude all like that. But I'm just keeping it 100. And I might go into detail one day. But fans, we got to do better. We got to do better. I know this video's long, and I just wanted to get some stuff off my chest this morning. And those out there that's still listening, salute to y'all. Y'all understand where I'm coming from. The other fans that ain't listening, those are the ones I'm talking about. Because they don't want to learn. They just want to like what makes them feel good. You see what I'm saying? Real fans don't want the easy. We want to stay with our team, watch them grow. Might take some bumps and bruises, but when they win, it's a lot sweeter. It's a lot sweeter than a microwave championship. I listened to my boy Kelvin. He had a video the other day, and he was talking about the big moments, remembering the big moments. And that's what we live for. To think about a championship and remembering those big games and the big moments and talking it over with some friends of yours that also are fans of that team, and y'all could just say, man, that was a special year. But then if it ain't no big moments and it was microwaved and it was no development, you ain't got nothing to talk about. You don't got nothing to remember. That bubble championship, ain't nobody talking about that 15 years down the road. Not no real Laker fans. We don't even look at it as a championship. Because we look at the game a lot different. And what took place in that bubble was a lot of BS. that a lot of people don't want to explain. But that's my time, man. I've been talking for about 30 minutes. This your boy Jay Shot. Shout out to the Behind the Bench crew. Check out our past videos, subscribe, and until then, I'm out.